Hello Ninbuzz viewers, RedPandaGamer here for the Ninbuzz Wii Shop channel reviews, where I, RedPandaGamer, will be talking about the WiiWare and Virtual Console titles as they were released. And for our first episode, we will be reviewing Final Fantasy III, that came out originally in 1994 for the Super Nintendo, and in Japan came out as Final Fantasy VI for the Super Famicom. Now, this game, 800 Wii points, it's a lot more of a deal compared to buying a real cartridge of it, which could go for about $40 or more on eBay, depending on how complete it is. I know people complain that America didn't get many Final Fantasy games, but hey, I'm glad we got this one because it really is just top-notch. And listen to that music and look at this visual. I mean, it just pulls you right into the game. I mean, I want to play it right now, and I already beat it so that you guys could see this review. I want to play it again just because of this title screen. Now, I do call this game Final Fantasy III, as it is the title of the game. However, in Japan, it is known as Final Fantasy VI because it is the sixth game in the Japanese series. While we only got 1 and 2, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this was 6. But since it was only our third, it is called Final Fantasy III. Final Fantasy III came out for multiple consoles. It originally came out for the Famicom, then it came out for Super Nintendo, then PlayStation in a double pack with Final Fantasy V, and then the Game Boy Advance. All these versions are very rare, and for some reason, not a lot of people have them. This game is notable for being one of the first really great RPGs, and most people who've made RPGs after this have taken a lot from the game itself and modeled it after it. Everything that this game did set the precedent. Now, this game is massive. You have one main area that will change throughout your game. You will also go to the skies later on, but you'll go through kingdoms, desert, forests, caves, everything that you've ever gone through, and then some. It feels like a completely original RPG, and anything you play will not be even close to the experience. Bosses are frightening, moves will make you think you're on the brink of death. Environments, they look real, you feel like you're there. I mean, this desert scene, you know, you can see like the mirage, you know, that's just how, it's a heat wave. Menu system, very simple, equip. It has an optimizing system, which I like a lot in case you don't have time to go through everything. You can just hit optimize and it makes everything the best it can be. As far as cinematics go, 1994, not a year where there was CGI in games or huge cutscenes. Instead, this game just worked with what it had. The castle scene, that was just the regular environments. This right here is just a battle with some enemies you never see, an environment you never see, with a yellow filter over it, but it feels like a cutscene. And yes, it is easy to say that they could have done more, but with what they had, it was perfect. Now, the story in Final Fantasy III is possibly one of the greatest stories told in an RPG. We open up the scene on two soldiers and a woman. The soldiers are Vix and Wedge, and they have been speaking of this woman that they have captured who is a magic user, which is unheard of because magic users have been around for thousands of years. Now, they talk about how she has been brainwashed and is under her complete control, and they are taking her with on a mining mission. Now, while on this mining mission, they come across an Esper, which is like a magic-wielding entity, and it destroys Vix and Wedge, but leaves her, or tries to destroy her, but is unable to. We wake up in an old man's house with our brain control machine taken off, and of course we find out her name is Terra, but we don't remember anything else. In typical RPG fashion, we have suffered amnesia. With her now escaped from the Empire's clutches, the Empire is of course coming back to, take her back. So she runs away and is attacked by the Empire, of course, and then we meet Locke, who is a thief, or in his words, a treasure hunter, who ends up saving us from the Empire soldiers. We then get taken away with Locke. Locke takes us to the Figaro Castle, where we meet probably one of the coolest characters of the whole game, Edgar, who is this cocky, womanizing king whose father left him the kingdom and whose brother, Sabin, has disappeared. We now meet Kefka. We hear a little bit about Kefka before. Kefka is a representative from the Empire and is pretty much the closest thing you will find in a video game to a terrorist, unless you're playing Black Ops and you actually are fighting terrorists. Kefka burns down the kingdom, manipulates. I mean, look at that face. He is terrifying. Would you want to be face to face with that? No, you wouldn't. I'm not going to go much into the story because I don't want to ruin it for you, but there are 13 characters who all have their own unique storyline and attributes, and it's just a storyteller's wet dream. The gameplay of this game, as I said earlier, most RPGs have taken what Final Fantasy III did and repeated it, taken it in their own sort of way and made it into its own game. Huge expansive world, tactics like combat where you go from a tactics kind of game like Final Fantasy Tactics and then you move into a different style of game where you're just going in regular RPG style. And that's where you get to be Moogles, which is awesome. This game makes Moogles look so freaking cool. I just want one for myself. Also in this game, you have, it's like, you know, if you've played a Final Fantasy game now, you're playing something that's similar to back then. If you look to your bottom right, you see a time meter. That time meter shows when you can attack. When that's filled up, you can attack. You have to be fast if you want to attack as much as you can. This also makes a game seem less boring. I cannot tell you how many times as a kid I played RPGs and just didn't get it. I don't understand why we're taking turns fighting. But when they introduce this attack time to it, it makes it seem more fast-paced. And oh my gosh, are we going to attack in time? And it gets you excited, which most RPGs are unable to do. And that alone is an amazing feat, making RPGs seem as exciting and fast-paced as an action or, you know, platforming game. Another thing that really enhanced the gameplay and visuals of Final Fantasy III was the introduction of the Mode 7 graphics for the Super Nintendo. Mode 7 style rendering is generally used on systems with strong 2D capabilities but not dedicated 3D support, so any time that you would see a game that looked like it was in 3D, that was really just Mode 7 working. Many of our favorite Super Nintendo games use the Mode 7 graphics, like Chrono Trigger, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars, and even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4: Turtles in Time. The use of Mode 7 really made the game seem larger and made the battles seem more intense. It really should be no surprise that I gave this game a 10 out of 10. While I don't find many games out there that are perfect 10s out of 10s, I really do feel like this one is the closest you can find to a perfect game. It really showed what an RPG could be and what they should always remain to become. This game really paved the way for RPGs that were to come out in the future. The next year, Earthbound would come out, and although it wasn't popular at the time, today it's one of the most popular games and most wished for Virtual Console titles. Also, Secret of Mana, Super Mario RPG, all these games were influenced heavily by Final Fantasy III, and for that reason, I give it a 10 out of 10. Well, that's all for this episode of We Shop Reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please subscribe to Ninbuzz, comment on this video, like this video, and tell me what review you'd like to see next. I'm RedPandaGamer, thanks all for watching, have a great day.